I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I've never been a guy who likes to put my emotions out there. So, here I am, sitting in front of my laptop, trying to process what's been going on the past few weeks. I feel like I've been punched in the gut and then had a bucket of cold water thrown on me. Let me start from the beginning. Her name is Emily, and we were together for 5 years. She was everything to me. I mean, I genuinely thought we had something real. We were supposed to get married, you know? Like, the whole deal. Engagement ring, wedding plans, the works. I had no doubts. None. I believed that love was enough to make it through anything. But, apparently, I was wrong. About 6 months ago, Emily left me. Just like that. No warning, no explanation. One day, we were planning a vacation, and the next, she was packing up and telling me she was confused. Confused? I still can't wrap my head around that. She told me she needed space to find herself, whatever that means. I was devastated, of course. I thought I had done something wrong. I begged her to talk to me, to explain. But she shut me out completely. Not a single word after that, not even a text. Fast forward a few months, and I'm picking up the pieces. Slowly but surely, I was moving on. I spent hours working on myself, my career, everything I could do to fill that void. And yeah, it sucked. I felt like I was drowning in this ocean of hurt. But time heals, right? At least, that's what they say. And after months of pain, I started to feel like I could breathe again. And then, she comes back into my life. I didn't see it coming. One evening, as I'm sitting at home, scrolling through my phone, I get a notification. It's a message from Emily. My heart almost stopped. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity before I opened it. Her message was simple. Too simple, if you ask me. Hey, can we talk? That's it. My stomach churned. My brain was screaming at me to just ignore it, to walk away. But I couldn't. Not after everything. I opened up the message, and a wave of emotions hit me like a freight train. The next few days were a blur. She kept texting, calling. She apologized for everything. Told me she was sorry for the way she left. But then, she dropped the bombshell. She was with someone else now. Someone with more money, more success. Someone who could give her the life she thought she deserved. I didn't know how to react. I mean, I should have been angry, right? But all I felt was this hollow emptiness. I guess I'd always known that it was never about me, it was always about what I could give her. And when I couldn't offer her more than I had, she left. But here's the kicker, she wants me back. Yeah, you heard that right. After months of being with this other guy, she's back in my life, telling me she made a mistake. That she misses me. That she's grown up and now she realizes what we had was real. She says she's done with him. The money, the fancy life, all of it. She wants me again. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Part of me wants to scream at her, to tell her she made her choice. But there's another part of me that still remembers the person I fell in love with. The part of me that's holding on to some hope that maybe she's telling the truth this time. But here's where it gets tricky. I've moved on. I mean, really moved on. It wasn't easy, but I'm not the same guy who begged for her back. I don't know if I can go back to that. I'm different now. I've found a sense of peace that I never had before. The thought of going back to the same relationship, with all its brokenness and betrayal, makes my stomach turn. So now, here I am, stuck in this twisted situation. She wants me back, but I'm not sure I want her. She says she's changed, but can people really change that quickly? I've been burned once, and I'm not sure I'm ready to throw myself back into the fire. But here's the problem, I don't know how to tell her that. She's not giving up. Every day, I get another message, another phone call. She says she's serious this time. She says she wants to build something real, and that she's not looking for someone wealthier, but someone who understands her. And part of me, deep down, wants to believe her. So, what now? I don't know. But I do know one thing, I'm not the same guy I was when she left. And maybe that's the problem. Because now, I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be. The thing is, I didn't expect Emily to keep coming at me like this. Day after day, I'd get these messages from her. I could almost feel the desperation in her words, even though she tried to keep it casual. Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay, or I miss you, you know. Like, what was she even expecting from me? Did she think that just because she showed up out of nowhere, I'd be waiting for her with open arms? That I'd forget the months of heartache, the nights I spent wondering why the hell she left? I mean, I'm not stupid. I know exactly what's going on. She's lonely. She thought she could find someone richer, someone who could give her that life of luxury she always wanted. And yeah, sure, maybe the guy she's with now was giving her all of that. Fancy dinners, designer clothes, all that stuff. But the reality was, he was never me. He never gave her the connection we had, the emotional support, the depth of the relationship. So now, she's come crawling back, expecting me to drop everything and give her another shot. To let her back in. I'll admit, there's a part of me that's tempted. God, there is. There's that voice inside me that whispers, maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time she means it. But then the other part of me, the smarter part, is screaming, are you kidding? She made her bed. Let her lie in it. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Not just at her, but at myself. Why the hell did I let her hurt me like that? I gave her everything, every damn piece of me, and for what? So she could bail the moment something shinier came along? And now she wants to waltz back in like nothing happened? Hell no. But the truth was, it wasn't as easy as telling her to just leave me alone. Because every time I tried to shut her out, she found a way back in. A quick I miss you here, and I made a mistake there, and before I knew it, she was back in my head again. And then came the phone calls. The long ones that would go on for hours. The voice on the other end of the line so familiar, so comforting, that it felt like maybe, just maybe, we were back to how we were before. Like I could forget the pain, the betrayal. That was the real kicker. I could feel myself almost slipping. Almost believing her. And that scared the hell out of me. How did I even get to this point? Why was I still letting her play with my emotions like this? But here's the problem. I wasn't the same person she left behind. I had changed, even though I didn't want to admit it. Over the past few months, I'd built something for myself, something that didn't have her in it. I'd focused on me. I'd grown stronger in ways I never thought I could. I didn't need her anymore. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Then, one night, after a particularly long phone call, she said something that stopped me dead in my tracks. I don't want you to think it's about the money, okay? It never was. I just needed more from life, from myself. And I thought that meant being with someone else. But I was wrong, I see that now. I love you. I want to build a future with you. Not him. Not anyone else. You. And that's when everything got real messy. Because in that moment, I felt it. That little tug at my chest. That tiny, almost imperceptible spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't lying this time. I wanted to believe her. I did. But that's the problem, isn't it? I want to believe her, and that's exactly why I couldn't. I spent the next few days turning this over in my head. The thing was, Emily wasn't the same person either. She had changed, too. But had she changed in the right ways? Was she really done with the money, the status, all of it? Or was this just another phase? Maybe she was tired of the rich guy who could buy her all the things, but was she really willing to give up that lifestyle for the real thing? For me, there was no way to know for sure. But part of me didn't care anymore. I had moved on. She had left me, and I had learned to live without her. That was my reality now. And even if she did want me back, I wasn't sure I even wanted to go back to what we had. But then there was the guilt. The constant, nagging guilt that maybe I was being too harsh. What if she did change? What if this time, she was serious? What if I was the one who was holding onto the past too tightly? What if I was letting my pride get in the way of something real? And that's when the real conflict hit me. Because now it wasn't just about her anymore. It was about me. Who was I now? Was I the guy who could forgive and move forward? Or was I the guy who would hold onto old wounds because he couldn't let go? What if I made the wrong choice? I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to face the fact that Emily coming back into my life was forcing me to make a decision that could change everything. And whatever I decided, whether I chose to take her back or leave her in the past, was going to shape the rest of my life. And that terrified me more than anything. It had been a week since Emily came back into my life, and the whole thing was starting to feel like one of those dreams you can't escape. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you tell yourself, this isn't real, you're still stuck in it. The messages didn't stop. The phone calls? Endless. She kept pushing, slowly worming her way back in, reminding me of everything we had, reminding me of the person I used to be. And, damn it, I started to crack. It wasn't anything huge. It wasn't like I was ready to forgive her. I wasn't naive enough to think things could go back to how they were. But there were moments. Little things that caught me off guard. Like one afternoon when I was working, and I got a text from her, "I'm just thinking about you. I hope you're okay. I miss you." Simple, right? But that's the thing, those little messages, those short bursts of warmth, hit me harder than I ever wanted to admit. I'd lie if I said I didn't feel something. My stomach would churn with this mixture of hope and dread. I couldn't help it. I started questioning everything. Was it just my ego talking, or was I actually still in love with her? Was I really over all the pain she caused, or was I just pretending because I didn't want to admit how much I missed her? But that's when the phone calls started to get heavier. Emily would call me late at night, and it wasn't just a casual check-in anymore. She was pouring her heart out. She'd tell me how sorry she was, how she regretted everything, how she couldn't believe she ever chose someone else over me. And then she'd drop the "I love you" bomb. Every damn time. It was like a punch to the gut, hearing those words again. Because I wanted so badly to believe her. But then reality would kick in. I couldn't just forget everything. The months without her, the empty nights, the way she had walked away without a second thought. And then came the hardest part, the guilt. I felt guilty for even considering giving her another chance. I wasn't some sucker who was just going to fall back into her arms because she said the right things. No, that wasn't me anymore. But at the same time, a part of me, the part one didn't want to admit even existed, missed her. I missed the us we used to be. The comfort, the connection, the future we thought we were going to build. I talked to a few friends about it. Some of them were pretty straightforward. "Dude, she left you once. Don't be stupid, she'll do it again." And honestly, I didn't blame them for thinking that. I mean, they were right. That was the logical answer, right? But then there were others who gave me that maybe she's changed speech. People make mistakes. Maybe she really knows what she wants now. And that was the dangerous one. Because it was the kind of thing that gets in your head, makes you question your every move, your every decision. And as if things weren't complicated enough, I ran into Emily's new boyfriend. Yeah, you read that right. I had been avoiding him for weeks, and somehow, fate decided that was the moment we'd bump into each other. It was at a coffee shop. I wasn't even thinking about her when I walked in, just trying to get through my day. But there he was, sitting across from Emily, laughing at something she said, her eyes glowing like she had never looked at me that way. My heart dropped right into my stomach. I swear, for a split second, it felt like I couldn't breathe. What did he have that I didn't? Was it the money? Was it the status? The way he could give her everything I couldn't? He wasn't even trying to hide it, he was so comfortable around her, like they were already in a life I couldn't touch. And it stung. Bad. But the worst part wasn't seeing them together. It wasn't the sharp pang of jealousy or the bitter realization that she had chosen someone else. It was the way Emily looked at me. There was this fleeting moment, this brief flicker of recognition in her eyes, like she was torn between the man she had left behind and the one she had chosen instead. That look, it was like she was seeing me for the first time in months. And I knew. I knew that look. I can't even explain it. It was like she was seeing me as something more than the guy she had left, like I was something she wanted again. And that made everything inside me go haywire. Because for a second, I was that guy again. I was the one who could make her smile, the one she could turn to for comfort. I wanted to walk away. I wanted to stay angry, to leave them both in the past. But instead, I stood there, frozen. The tension between us was thick. I couldn't breathe. Neither of us said anything for what felt like forever, just staring at each other. Then, Emily stood up. She looked at me and said, "Can we talk? Please?" She didn't even look at her boyfriend. She just stared at me, waiting for me to respond. My heart was racing. My mind was screaming at me to just turn around and leave. I had made it this far without her. I didn't need to go back to that life, to those games. But something inside me made me stay. I don't know if it was hope, nostalgia, or just pure confusion, but I found myself nodding, saying, "Yeah, let's talk." And that, right there, was when I realized I was nowhere near as over this as I thought I was. So there I was, standing in front of Emily at that coffee shop. Her new boyfriend was sitting back at the table, blissfully unaware of what was about to go down. It felt like I was in a movie, like every single thing in the universe had conspired to bring us to this moment. The weight of everything, the past, the hurt, the anger, the memories, was sitting heavy on my chest. I didn't say anything at first. I couldn't. I was still processing that look she gave me earlier, the one that made me feel like I was back in the game again. And, God, that messed with my head. What was this? Why did she look at me like that? She left me, for crying out loud. She chose someone else. What the hell was I supposed to do with that? Finally, she spoke, and the words hit me like a wrecking ball. "Listen, I know I messed up. But I need you to hear me out," she said, her voice shaking just a little. Not the confident, polished Emily who used to get everything she wanted without a second thought. No, this time, there was something different. It felt real, raw. It felt like vulnerability. It caught me off guard. I expected the same smooth talk, the same convincing arguments. Instead, I got something real. And, damn, did it throw me off. "Please, don't say anything yet," she continued, her eyes desperate. "I know I hurt you. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I was wrong. I thought I needed someone with money, someone who could give me everything I wanted. But what I didn't realize, what I didn't get, is that money can't replace what we had. It never could. I felt my pulse racing. My stomach was tied in knots. But I couldn't let her see how much that hit me. I couldn't give her that satisfaction. I had to stay strong. I had to remind myself that this wasn't about her. This was about me. About what I wanted, about what I had built without her. She took a step closer, and I could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. I want us back. I want you back. You were always the one. I never stopped loving you, not really. I thought I needed more. But I was wrong. I've learned so much, and I need you to know that. I've changed. Please, give me another chance. I swear, this time it'll be different. I stared at her, my mind spinning. What was I supposed to do? Could I really just forget everything? The way she left me, the hurt she caused, the nights I spent wondering if I would ever move on. Was it possible to just erase all of that? Was it possible to forgive and move forward? Then, like a punch to the gut, I saw him. Her boyfriend. He was sitting there, watching us, and I could see the frustration and confusion in his eyes. His hands were clenched into fists, and his jaw was tight. He was watching her, watching me, as if he knew what was about to happen. For a split second, I felt this overwhelming sense of guilt. Not just because of what Emily was asking, but because of what I was about to do to him. The guy didn't deserve this. I mean, I didn't even know him, but I could feel the tension building, feel the awkwardness hanging in the air. And it pissed me off. Why was I the one who had to be in this position? Why was I the one forced to make this choice? But then Emily said something that stopped me in my tracks. Something that felt like the coldest bucket of water being thrown right in my face. I'm leaving him, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at him, the guy she'd been with for months. I don't love him. I love you. And I've been fooling myself thinking I could find happiness with someone else. I swear, time stopped. My heart pounded in my chest, but everything else faded. It was just me and her. And that confession? That hit me harder than anything else. Not because she wanted me back, but because she was willing to let him go. To just throw away whatever they had for a chance with me. I felt betrayed all over again. Not just by her, but by the situation itself. I had worked so hard to move on, to get past everything that happened. And now, it felt like she was pulling me right back into the mess. Like I was supposed to clean up the wreckage she had left in her wake. My anger flared up, and I wanted to yell at her. I wanted to tell her she didn't get to have it both ways. That I wasn't going to be her backup plan. That she couldn't just pick me up when things went wrong. But something stopped me. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. The same exhaustion that had been in mine when I was recovering, trying to rebuild myself. She wasn't just asking for forgiveness. She was asking for another chance to prove that she could be the woman I needed, the woman who wouldn't run when things got tough. And in that moment, I realized something. Something I hadn't let myself admit until now. I did love her. God, I hated to admit it, but I did. And that was the problem. I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I wasn't ready to let her go completely either. The silence between us was deafening. I opened my mouth to say something, but the words got stuck. I wasn't sure what to say anymore. What could I say? And that's when she did something that completely threw me off. She reached out and touched my arm, lightly, like she was trying to ground herself. I understand if you can't forgive me. I just needed to say it. I had to let you know the truth. And just like that, I was back to square one. I had no idea what the hell to do next. The silence between us felt suffocating. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even think straight. All I knew was that the woman I had once envisioned spending my life with was standing right in front of me, telling me that she had made a mistake, that she loved me, that she wanted to rebuild what we had. But how? How do you rebuild something that's been shattered so completely? How do you trust someone who walked away when things got hard? I looked at Emily, standing there with her eyes filled with all the emotions I had never wanted to see again. She was the same, but she was different. She had changed, sure, but was it enough? Could someone really change in the way she was claiming to? Could I trust her after everything that had happened? Her words, so full of remorse, kept echoing in my mind, and I couldn't tell if they were the truth or just another way to make me feel guilty for moving on. Part of me wanted to reach out, to take her hand, to let her back in and give us another shot. But another part of me was screaming to walk away, to not let myself get sucked back into the past. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I didn't want to make the wrong choice. I had worked too hard to get to where I was now. I had found peace, I had built a life without her, and for the first time in months, I could breathe again. Why would I risk that for someone who had left me without a second thought? But, damn it, I still loved her. I knew it. And that made everything so much harder. So, what now? I finally asked, my voice coming out more shaky than I wanted it to. I looked down at the ground, not sure if I could even look her in the eye. Emily didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, as if she were waiting for me to make the first move. And for the first time in this whole mess, I felt something like clarity. It wasn't a loud, sudden realization, it was quiet, like the gentle pull of the tide, slowly moving in, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. I took a deep breath, looking back up at her, forcing myself to meet her eyes. Emily, I'm not the same guy who begged you to come back before. I've worked too damn hard to get to where I am now. I'm not going to let you. I stopped myself, not wanting to sound bitter or angry. I wasn't mad at her anymore. I was just tired. I've moved on, I said softly. I've changed, too. And I don't want to be the person I was before. I can't go back to that. I can't go back to us. Her face fell. I could see the hurt, the disappointment flash across her features, and I felt a pang of guilt. But I also felt something else. A strange sense of relief. Like I had finally said the thing I had been avoiding for months. I know this is hard, she whispered, her voice almost breaking. I wanted to be honest with you. I needed you to know how I feel. I nodded. I appreciate that. I really do. But sometimes honesty doesn't fix everything. You can't just undo the past, no matter how much you want to. You left me. You chose someone else. And while I understand that you thought it was the right choice at the time, I can't just forget that. We both stood there for a while, just looking at each other. Emily wiped her eyes, but there was no dramatic breakdown, no desperate plea for me to take her back. She knew. Deep down, she knew that what we had, whatever it was gone. And no amount of words could bring it back. She let out a long breath, then nodded. I get it. I really do. And I'm sorry. I wish I had done things differently. I wish I had never left. Me too, I said, the words slipping out before I even realized it. And then, just like that, everything seemed to settle. Emily straightened up, wiped her eyes one more time, and gave me a small, bittersweet smile. Goodbye, then, she said, her voice soft but steady. Goodbye, I replied, feeling the weight of the word more than I wanted to admit. She turned and walked back to her table, and I watched her for a second, still unsure of whether I had made the right choice. But deep down, I knew I had. It wasn't about the past anymore. It wasn't about fixing what was broken, it was about moving forward. And that was something I needed to do, no matter how hard it was. I walked out of that coffee shop, feeling a strange sense of finality. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't devastated. I was just done. And in that moment, I realized that the hardest part wasn't her leaving me. It was learning to let her go. As I stepped outside, the cool air hit my face, and I took a deep breath. It wasn't easy. But nothing worth having ever is, right? I had my life to live, and I wasn't going to spend it looking back.